It started with silence. The kind that wraps around you in the middle of the night, when the world is still, and you're alone with your breath, your thoughts, and someone who should not be there. He was just staying over for the weekend. My husband's cousin. Nothing more, nothing less. But that night, when the house was sleeping, when the wine was nearly gone, when the sofa pulled us too close, everything went too deep, too fast. And I can't take it back. My name doesn't matter, but my mistake does. My husband had gone to bed early. He was exhausted. It had been a long family day. His cousin had flown in from out of town, and after dinner drinks and laughter, everyone was winding down, except me and him. He asked if I wanted to stay up and watch something light, maybe a movie or a show. I said yes, because why not? It felt innocent, safe, family, right? We sat on the sofa. At first, there was distance between us, polite, casual. But as the minutes passed, the space began to shrink, not on purpose. At least that's what I told myself. We laughed, talked about nothing, shared stories, and then, suddenly, the air shifted. He made a comment, not crude, but close. It landed softly like a feather, but I didn't push it away. The blanket between us was shared now. Our feet touched, then our knees. His thigh pressed against mine and stayed there. I could have stood up. I could have gone to bed. I could have said, "Good night," but I didn't, because for the first time in a long time I felt seen. Not by someone who knew my daily routine. Not by someone who loved me out of habit, but by someone who looked at me like he wanted to. He shifted slowly and leaned in to grab his glass, his arm brushing across my chest. It lingered. I felt the warmth, and still I stayed. When his hand rested on my leg, I didn't jump. I didn't even flinch. It was light, barely there. But it was enough to tell both of us this wasn't a game anymore. His fingers traced slow, innocent circles. But the intention was anything but. We both stared at the screen, but neither of us was watching. I knew what was happening, and he knew I wasn't stopping it. When he turned to face me fully, there was a question in his eyes, not permission but confirmation, and my silence gave it. He kissed me, soft at first, testing, and when I didn't pull away, he kissed me deeper, slower, like he had all the time in the world. My heart was pounding, not with excitement but with guilt I hadn't earned yet. We didn't say a word. The blanket fell. My hand was in his shirt. His lips trailed lower, painfully quiet. No moans, no words, just breath and skin, and the sound of betrayal forming with every second. When it was over, when we lay still on the sofa, barely dressed, barely breathing, he looked at me. Not with regret, but with something worse, satisfaction. I felt disgusted, not by him, but by me. I got up, didn't speak, went into the bathroom, shut the door, and stared at myself. The woman in the mirror wasn't crying. She wasn't broken. She looked calm, too calm, and that scared me, because maybe part of me had been waiting for this. A moment to feel something again. He left the next morning before anyone else woke up. Said he had an early meeting in the city. My husband kissed me on the forehead while making coffee, and I stood there, smiling, while his cousin's touch still echoed on my skin. I didn't say a word. Not that day. Not the next. I buried it. Wrapped it in silence. But silence doesn't erase guilt. It just delays the decay. Weeks passed. Then months. He never returned. Not to our home. Not to me. And I began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, he used me. But the truth is, he didn't take anything I wasn't already willing to give. And that's the part I can't escape. It wasn't his hand that ruined me. It was mine, not moving it away. People think cheating is loud, obvious, full of lies and lipstick stains. But sometimes it's quiet, like a whisper you don't hush, like a touch you don't stop, like a kiss you lean into when no one's watching. And sometimes cheating isn't about love or lust, but loneliness. And it finds you on nights you least expect, on sofas that once felt safe, in arms you never planned to fall into. I never told my husband, not because I didn't love him, but because I did. And I knew one truth would burn everything down. But here's the part no one tells you. You don't need to be caught to feel the consequences, because the worst betrayal is the one you carry in silence. Too deep, too fast, and too late to undo. Would you like me to now generate the YouTube description, thumbnail, title, timestamps, hashtags, keywords, tags? But silence doesn't mean peace. The days that followed felt off. Not chaotic, not loud, just a subtle shift in the air, like something important had been misplaced, and only I noticed it was gone. I kept waking up in the middle of the night, heart racing, staring at the ceiling as though it could rewind time. I looked at my husband differently now, not because I loved him less, but because I had changed. There was this space between us, a space I had created, and every time he touched me I flinched, not outwardly, not noticeably, but inside, because his touch felt clean, and I felt dirty. He'd ask if I was okay. I'd nod. He believed me. That's what hurt the most. One night, I watched him sleep, his chest rising and falling, peaceful, trusting. I wanted to cry, but I didn't, because crying felt like a way out, and I didn't deserve one. Every little thing reminded me. The blanket on the sofa, the wine glass, even the smell of his cousin's cologne lingered in the guest room for days. I found myself walking past it faster, never going in, avoiding my own guilt like it was contagious. And yet, part of me, deep down, kept asking, why didn't I stop it? Not just the act, but the slow descent, the way I let things build, the way I invited the attention with my silence. I kept saying, I didn't mean for it to happen. But maybe the more painful truth was, I didn't stop it because I liked how it felt to be wanted. I used to think infidelity was always physical. But now, I know it starts long before the first kiss. It starts in the mind, in the moments we let things slide, in the smiles we don't correct, in the feelings we don't admit. And when it finally happens, the damage isn't just to the person we hurt, but to the person we used to be. Sometimes I think about confessing, just laying it all out, sobbing into his chest, begging for forgiveness. But what would that fix? The truth wouldn't cleanse me. It would crush him. And I'm not sure which of us would survive it. I still cook breakfast, still do laundry, still say, I love you. But it all feels automated, like I'm playing a part in a play I no longer deserve to be cast in. And the worst part, he still looks at me the same way, with love, with trust, with no idea of the night that rewrote everything. They say time heals all wounds, but some wounds don't want to heal. Some want to sit inside you and rot quietly, because that's the price of betrayal, not the loss of love, but the loss of who you were before the mistake. And now, every time I sit on that sofa, I remember how easy it is to fall. Not because I was weak, but because I was lonely. And in that moment, I let the wrong hand hold me. Too deep, too fast, and now I can't climb out. I started avoiding the sofa. Isn't that strange? A piece of furniture, but it became something else. A symbol, a reminder of the moment I slipped and didn't catch myself. I found myself sitting at the dining table more, curling up in bed earlier, leaving the TV off. Anything to avoid recreating that setting, that trap. But memory doesn't need a location to exist. It lives everywhere, in the quiet moments. In the look on my husband's face when he laughs at something I said. That look of admiration, that's what haunts me. Because it's still there, unchanged, untouched by the truth he doesn't know. Sometimes I hear his cousin's name in conversation and feel my stomach twist. My mind drifts. I nod politely and pretend nothing flickered behind my eyes. But it always does, and the guilt, it's patient. It doesn't scream, it whispers. I haven't seen him since that night. There was no follow-up, no text, no apology, nothing. And that silence speaks volumes. He knows what we did. He knows what almost happened. And maybe that was enough for him. But for me, it never ended. I keep wondering, If I had pulled away sooner, would anything be different? Or was I already too far gone the moment I chose not to move? My marriage is still intact, on the surface, but underneath, it feels like I'm walking on cracked glass. Every sweet word from my husband sounds like a test. Every kind gesture makes me flinch inside, because I know I'm not the woman he thinks I am anymore. And yet, he still holds me at night. He still says I'm his best friend. He still believes in us. That trust, it's the heaviest burden I carry. People think cheating is about sex. It's not. It's about the moment you choose silence over truth. It's about the breath you hold instead of the boundary you set. It's the second your body leans forward, when your heart knew better. I don't know if I'll ever tell him. I don't even know what I'd say. Would it start with, "It meant nothing"? Because that's a lie. It meant everything. Not because of him, but because of what it revealed about me. I always thought I was the kind of woman who wouldn't cross a line. Turns out I'm the kind who stands too close to it and doesn't step back in time. And that's something I'll live with every single day. Too deep, too fast, on a night when the house slept and I woke up someone else. I used to think time could numb anything, that if you waited long enough, even the sharpest memory would dull, soften at the edges, maybe even disappear. But I've learned something far more unsettling. Some memories don't fade, they settle. They find a quiet room inside you, close the door, and live there indefinitely. That night didn't destroy my marriage. It didn't burn anything to the ground. No screaming, no dramatic exits. No one found out. But I did lose something. Something I'll never get back. A version of myself I believed in. I keep waiting for the guilt to leave. For the day I wake up and no longer feel that sinking ache in my chest. But it's still here. Just quieter. Like a wound that stopped bleeding but never fully healed. A limp in my soul. And yet I still love him. My husband. More than I can explain. That hasn't changed. In fact, it might be the only thing that hasn't. But I don't love myself the same way anymore. Because I know the truth. I let someone touch me in a way that only love should. And I didn't push him away. There's no undoing it. No erasing. Only living with it. And that's the final twist no one talks about. Cheating doesn't always come with exposure or consequence. Sometimes the punishment is private. A life sentence you carry behind your smile. I still kiss him goodnight. Still whisper, "I love you." But there's a ghost in the room now, not of a moment. And every time I sit alone, I remember how easy it is to fall, too deep, too fast, while the house slept, and I stopped being who I thought I was. Some nights I lie beside him and listen to the rhythm of his breathing. Steady, trusting, unaware. I wonder what he'd do if I ever told him. Would he leave? Would he forgive me? Would he blame me? Or himself? But the scariest question isn't about him. It's about me. Would I do it again? Because the truth is, it didn't feel like betrayal in that moment. It felt like need, like something buried deep inside me was finally being seen, touched, acknowledged. And that's what I fear most. That I didn't just slip, I wanted to. That maybe this wasn't just about loneliness or opportunity or weakness. Maybe it was about desire I never admitted, not even to myself. And now I carry both stories. The one I live out loud, dinners, laundry, shared glances across the kitchen, and the one I bury, too deep, too fast, in a house that never knew it happened. If you passed me in a store, you'd never know. If you saw our wedding photos, you'd never guess. I still smile, still wear the ring, still say, "I do," in every way that counts. But I also said, "I won't." And I broke that. And now, in the quietest parts of my soul, I answer to that version of me, the one who didn't speak, the one who didn't move, the one who looked straight into a moment of truth and blinked. People think cheating starts with sex. It doesn't. It starts with a smile you hold too long, a secret you share too easily, a boundary you let blur. It starts when you stop watering your own grass and start admiring someone else's garden. That night on the sofa didn't ruin my marriage, but it cracked something. And you know what? That crack never quite sealed, because once you go too deep, too fast, there's no going back to shallow waters. I don't tell this story because I'm proud. I tell it because maybe, just maybe, someone out there is right on the edge, right on their own sofa, right in that quiet moment, right before the house falls asleep. So let me ask you, is it worth it? Because no matter how good it feels in the moment, it'll haunt you when the house wakes up. We never spoke about that night again. Emily eventually moved away. Amanda and I stayed married, but something between us quietly died that day. Not because I slept with someone else, but because I allowed someone else into a space that used to belong only to her. You see, cheating isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the whisper you didn't shut down, the glance you held too long, the silence you let grow. And if you're sitting there right now, thinking, it's just a conversation, let me tell you, so was mine. One moment can redefine who you are. One night can haunt the next 100. So if you love someone, protect the space between you. Choose them every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because if you don't, someone else might. And when they do, it won't feel like betrayal at first. It'll feel like relief, like understanding, like warmth. But it'll end in cold every time. So before you go too deep, before you lean in too far, ask yourself, who do I want to be when the house wakes up?